So, has the Plaid killer finally arrived for a stock car that is also American made? Two of the most American made vehicles possible. Old school Chevy versus new school Tesla. I mean, you can say Chevy's new school as well because there's probably at least 3 to 5 computers on board on that vehicle. But in this video today, we're going to go over a little bit of specs, a little bit of ideas, the different variants of the new Corvette Zr1. As you saw maybe on the channel, I am a Detroit native. I grew up around muscle cars. And also, I am a previous Plaid owner and maybe soon to be another Plaid owner or Roadster. But that's a different conversation for a different time. So I kind of just pulled the specs from Chevy's website and obviously the Plaid. I know the specs from the back of my hand. So I just wanted to dive, right into it and kind of compare the specs and give you more of a realistic, scenario. So starting off 0 to 60, Motor Trend kind of got the 2.2, and keep in mind, this is the ZR1. It's not the other one, the X, which we're going to compare in the next slide, which is the hybrid or the Zora that people call it. And the Plaid is getting 1.9. Now, realistically, on the street, you're going to get 2.2 to 2.3 with the Plaid. That's what I would get on draggy times. And then this 1.9 is with, 1 foot rollout. Now, I believe Motor Trend did this on a prep surface on a track, so 2.2 is pretty respectable. We can keep it at that. The Corvette, being the sports car it is, way more lighter in weight, which is kind of a testament for the Plaid. And, how much heavier it is almost by, like 1,000 pounds right there, right? And it's still able to achieve pretty much the same times that you're seeing. Top speed, Chevy claims 223, which is definitely much faster than the S Plaid. Now, the 203 here can only be achieved if you buy the extra 15K track pack that Tesla has to install with ceramic brake kicks, .4 racing fluid, and everything else that's included in that. And then there's 2 variants of that. 15K just gets you the ceramics and the .4 racing fluid, steel brake lines. And then 20K will get you the track pack wheels, which are, I believe, a little bit less wider than these. I think these are 345s in the back if I was reading on Motor Trend's kind of description of that. And with the track pack, it's 305 for the Plaids. Horsepower, very similar. The new ZR1 has a little bit more horsepower and 9.5. Keep in mind, I'm pulling this data from the quarter mile to here from Motor Trend, and they got 9.5 in the quarter mile. Even though it's lighter and has the same horsepower, the Plaid seems to still pull on the top end, which has to do with the Plaid drivetrain. I know maybe a lot of you might click on this video or might hear that Plaids don't have top ends or Teslas. Definitely not Plaids, and even the new refresh Model 3 Performance into Model Y Performance definitely is on par, 60 to 130 with a Z06 or stock Hellcat. I could definitely make a video about that just to compare the two. Now, half mile, 14.5 at 186 miles per hour. You can look that up on Brooks from Drag Times. He compared the Sapphire, the Rimac Nevada, and the Plaid, and that's what they were actually getting with obviously with the track pack. So assuming if this quarter mile is a little bit slower than the half mile, this is from the half mile down. These are kind of my estimates. So going down to 60 to 130, I'm pretty sure you can get that down into the 4s with the ZR1. I just put 5s because I'm kind of basing it off the quarter mile time, 4.7, 60 to 130 to 5 seconds for the Plaid. And then for the mile, it's 24 seconds at 203 for the Plaid, and then 23.8 at 200 miles per hour for the ZR1. And I'm basing that off of Motor Trend because they did 0 to 200 in 23.8 seconds. So I'm assuming that's where the mile is. But those are just my estimates and a rough data that I pulled and I put together for the Plaid and the ZR1. And that is the new 2025, the new one that came out. So jumping over to the ZR1X or the Zora, this is where I think the Plaid is going to get beat a little bit just based on the numbers. It could be less, it could be more. 0 to 60 time, 1.9 seconds. I think respectively, they'll get around like, at the track, 2 seconds, 2.1, but we will find out. Again, I'm assuming it's the same weight, if not a little bit lighter. I really couldn't find too much data on that on Chevy's website. Top speed, assuming the same thing. This is where it gets interesting, because if you guys didn't know, if you live under a rock, the Zr1X or the Zr1 is actually a hybrid system. So they have electric up front, combustion in the back, making it a complete monster. And it has just as much power as a Lucid Sapphire, which, if you don't know what the Sapphire is, that is a company that was started by a former Tesla executive, and they make some pretty cool cars. So a lot of these numbers you're going to see below the kind of horsepower here is basing stuff off the Lucid Sapphire, because when you're comparing electric, like, weight does matter and it doesn't, right? Because you can see this is 1,000 pounds heavier, and it's still like, it's probably going to be neck and neck or a driver's race for the regular Zr1. But the Zr1X, definitely you need that extra horsepower electric boost to actually beat the Plaid and actually gap it, which I think we might have that here with the Zr1X. Again, driver's race. I think still this one's going to be, even though it's a sports car, it's going to be a typical Detroit muscle car, and it's going to a point and spin in typical Big Three fashion. But with this, I don't think it's going to spin at all, because it's got the electric drivetrain assist and then the combustion in the back, which, makes it technically, if I'm correct, an all-wheel drive car. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments section. So quarter mile, Chevy's claiming 8.9 seconds. Definitely something to see. I think it's more achievable versus Dodge's claims. I think someone like me could hop in there, warm up the tires, that's never driven a Corvette, and could actually do it. With a Demon 170, I've seen the videos. You have to get a trained driver that knows how to drive those to launch it properly. Now, half mile, this is where I'm starting to compare half mile below down to the mile. These are kind of the Lucid Sapphire times, because it's similar horsepower, and the Sapphire is even heavier. I believe it's like 5,200 pounds, and still crazy what these sedans are able to do with that much power and that much weight. And you are looking at that 4.2, 185 miles per hour in the half mile, and then 60 to 130 is 4.3 seconds. The mile, I'm looking at 22.8 at 205. That's kind of my rest estimate. I'll probably be off. Obviously, nothing is completely consistent, but I think the Zr1X or Zr1 has the Plaid beat. I'm sure there's going to be videos coming out soon. Now, as a Detroit native, I have seen the Zr1 since February. Yes, this is obviously on Motor Trend's track, but I would see this similar plate here in Michigan, because I live 30 minutes from where they designed the Corvette and all future GM vehicles, whether they're gas or electric. So I've been seeing these puppies since February, and the manufacturers have been driving them, obviously the engineers and people that were allowed to higher ups to take them home. And I've talked to them. And then just yesterday, unfortunately, I got a phone call, so I wasn't able to record it. But as I was driving the Cybertruck around, I saw a Zr1X, right? And for those of you that don't know and might think I'm full of crap, most manufacturers that are, in their area or town, they do drive these vehicles around. Like when the Hummer EV was announced, I saw that like a year and a half before everybody else did, because I just seen them driving around. And I'm not the only one to see this. There's videos and pictures online of the Zr1, and soon you'll see more pictures and videos online of the Zr1X being driven around. So yeah, I've seen them for a while, and they were testing this puppy in the winter, driving them around, hopefully with winter tires, but they were driving it really slow. So yeah, those are kind of my specs and my thoughts. And yeah, I've been seeing them a lot. So just to dive into tech, we all know that the Plaid and all Tesla's tech is probably 50 years ahead of Chevy's, but just to give them credit, they have CarPlay, they have connectivity, they have 4G LTE. I'm not sure how that goes. You have to purchase it or if it's included. But yeah, CarPlay, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, all that fun stuff, Bluetooth connectivity. I put standard autopilot there because I'm not sure if GM is continuing their endeavor and their pursuit for autonomous driving, because they had a division called Cruise, and Cruise was going for a while, but then I don't know, they kind of scaled back a bit. I'm not sure what happened. They said they were going to beat Tesla, but we all know Tesla's Robotaxi has been working since the beginning of this month in Austin as the first city, and the first customer ride is happening on June 22nd, which, I mean, there's tons of videos and pictures, and I should be doing a video tomorrow, the next day, for that. talking about the new leak that a kind of person found where a engineer is sitting in the passenger seat, rather a safety driver. I think he's even sleeping, and it's going around Austin with nobody in the driver's seat. We don't have to get started about Tesla. It has lots of apps, Spotify, Apple Music, all that built in. You can kind of see it right here. You can play games on here when you're parked. You can do all sorts of things. You can play Steam, all this different stuff. The tech is next level. Chevy could never even come close. Sorry, fanboys. Tesla's more of a tech company than a car company, that we can agree on. And then FSD, which is, for a consumer-based vehicle that you can buy, not like Waymo or anything like that. I mean, FSD is just so freaking good, especially if you have what's called hardware 4, which is the latest computer. Even hardware 3 is better. But for the Chevy, I don't know if it has cruise, lane keep assist, or just super cruise, which at certain highways you can take your hands off the wheel. Obviously, in a sports car like that, I don't think people are going to want that anyway. But that's just kind of a tech comparison between the two. Obviously, we know Tesla's years ahead on that. So, practicality in room, I couldn't find many pictures. And keep in mind, Chevy boys, and combustion boys, I'm not much of a combustion head. So I'm assuming there's a little bit of a, this is the Zr1X. So I'm assuming there's a little, maybe, the engine's up there. I don't know. You guys talk about mid-engine, which I understand that's more to the back, and then a rear. But I'm not sure the placement, because there wasn't many pictures on Motor Trend or any of those car, actual pages or websites that I could find about this. But it's, obviously this is more of a sports car. It's a 2-seater. This is a 5-seater family. And you can see with the seats down, you can put a full-on bike back there. You don't even need a bike rack compared to the Plaid. So 2-seater versus 5-seater. I'm assuming it's got a frunk on a Chevy, but I'm probably wrong about that, because I'm assuming there's something up there with the electric assist if it's the Zr1X, but there could be room. Very little room here, lots of room, and you also have the frunk, and also under here you can see it. There's a little thing you can pop up, and there's more storage space there and storage space there behind the seats, so lots of room. Obviously, it's a sedan versus a sports car, and obviously for looks-wise, this is subjective, but from a general perspective, right, this is more sporty, and this is more family-oriented looking, where it's more futuristic, kind of, electric looking, right? So that's kind of those. And, kind of my final piece here, pricing. The Corvette that I'm pulling was anywhere from 170 to 200K just for the Zr1, and then pricing for the Plaid, if you just get it, all of these numbers are before tax anyway. For the Plaid, you're looking at, starting off at 99K and then up to 132K if you start putting the bigger rims on it, the track pack, FSD, all the add-ons. They charge, I think, an extra $1,000 for the yoke, which I know that's very controversial. But yeah, and the thing with Tesla is once you get the price, that's the price. There's no hidden fees. It's right on the website. With Chevy, unfortunately, since it's an old school company, you have to deal with the old school, dealer. Now, if you got a hookup and you're a constant essentially customer with them and things like that, you might get a good price from a dealer that you have a relationship with. But obviously, just like Porsche, just like Ferrari, and a lot of other companies, you have to have those relationship builds. Tesla, as long as you have money, they will, give it to you right away. You can order on the website. They don't care who you are, which I like, because if you earned your money, you should be able to buy it, right? Because people say, well, then that's not, especially the Porsche and Ferrari fanboys make this argument. I'm sure Chevy's like that with the Zr1X and the Zr1, that you have to have a relationship established with the company. And if you've had to had a bunch of cars bought and depreciated in order to buy the next generation cars with, I don't know if Chevy higher end is like that. Maybe some can give some insight in the, in comment section. I know Porsche's like that, like for their GT3 RS. Ford might be like that too. But again, if anybody knows, drop your knowledge down below in the comments and start that conversation. With the Plaid, you can go to the not the service center, but it's a service delivery center, right? Because they don't have dealerships. It's all direct to consumer. And you can kind of talk with people there. I built a couple of relationships with the West Bloomfield location here in Michigan, which is the more rich side of the state. And I know a bunch of people there that are able to search for inventory if, like, I wanted a new Plaid right now, and can get me a little bit of a discount. Not that they have, but maybe like a demo vehicle with a couple thousand miles or something like that. So that's where kind of like Chevy and Tesla differ. But yeah, and keep in mind, if you're somebody walking to a dealership, there's no way you're going to get the Zr1 or even the Zr1X, like under 200K. I mean, the Zr1X, I don't know how many they're building. There's speculation about that, but yeah, I mean, under 300K for the Zr1X and 250K after dealer markup and stuff like that. Yeah, dealers. I remember when the Demon 170 came out and I was trying to find videos and all the knowledge comparing it to the Plaid, blah, 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 all that type of stuff. And essentially, Pete, they were charging 100, 150, 200. Some dealers wanted almost $500,000 for a Dodge. Like, I don't think any car is worth that, in my opinion. I think 100K is good for all of these cars, but everyone has their opinion on that. So yeah, this is pretty much everything. I just want to give a comparison video. I think they're both great cars. I would go with the Plaid because I'm more of a tech guy and I've had one before. Combustion's not really my thing, but I just wanted to kind of lay out the comparison a little bit and admit where the Corvette might be faster. I know some of you might be thinking of track times. I've never been to a track. I'm not a track expert. But I believe the Plaid with the track pack got like 7.25 seconds, not seconds, 7 minutes and 25 seconds around the ring in Germany that I can never pronounce, Nuremberg. Everybody roasts me in the comments for that. That's fine. So I would assume this is more of a track-focused car, but the Plaid still does decent. So if someone wants to give their knowledge and start a conversation about that in the comment section, feel free. But that's everything. So thanks for tuning into Detroit Tesla. If you're new here, feel free to like, subscribe, share, do whatever you like. But I will see you in the next one.